Good afternoon, everyone. All right. Um, I apologize for being a few minutes late. Believe it or not, trying to find, there it is. Believe it or not, the program, the simulator, actually takes, at this point, about 5 minutes to actually load in. Here we are at Portland International Jetport. And for those of you really keeping track, you may see here that I have changed our plane a little bit to a C-208. The Cessna C-208 is a plane that I am used to flying like crazy all over the place, since it's the plane I use for Cape Air virtual flights. But in this case, I changed over to it for one reason and one reason only. It has its wings here on the top of the plane, so it has superior looking down towards the good stuff on the ground angles. So we'll see exactly how this works out. All right. So with that being done, let's get back into the cockpit. You'll see a little bit different stuff here for our C208. And the most interesting thing is that you actually have to turn on the fuel. We have fuel, but we have to turn it on. And if we don't, the propeller will actually not turn. All right, we bring our pitch angle to a little bit. We hit our flaps, and now we turn on our battery, like so. Fuel pump, alternator, starter engine, ignition. There we go. There's our propeller. Thank you, Cozy. All right, there's our propeller. And now let's turn on the avionics. There we go. Let's set our altimeter correctly. There we go. While we're waiting for that to come up, I'm just going to mention that we are up and running on some other platforms. There we go. All right. Let me bring myself back here. There we go. Okay. Now with that being done, let's actually, I got in here so quickly that I haven't even been able to log on to DevatSim. And while we're waiting for that to come up, let's bring up all of our lights. There we go. There's all of our lights. Make sure we get into that sim correctly with the correct plane type. Set in mode C. And bring up our flight plan. Existing flight plan found. Good, good, good. Yes, that's what we want. So let's file a flight plan, and there we have it. All right, at this point, the only person online is DC, so we'll continue doing what we're doing here. Let's take a look at what the Portland common traffic frequency is, 120.9. So let's put that in here. There we go. And flip it over. And now we are on the correct frequency that way. The rest of this, to a very large extent, is going to be proper VFR. So with that, let's figure out which airport, which runway we're moving off from. The winds are coming in from the south, so we're going to have checking here. Yeah, we're gonna have our runway right here. So, given that, Portland traffic, November 143 Charlie Alpha, taxiing to runway 18. All right. Our altitude, once we get things going here, there we go. It's going to be 4,500, which sounds high, but remember we're going to be going through mountains, or as close to mountains as the east of the United States ever gets. And we're also basically going westward, so we'll set our blue heading reticle, basically westward. And there we go. All right. With all of that being done, let's kill our parking brake and start forward. There we go. You'll notice our map a little bit changed over this time. It actually moves with us. That's just an issue with this particular flight management system. Just different, not a problem. There we are. And you can see us moving nicely down the runway. Or actually down the taxiway, excuse me, that would be bad. Portland traffic, November 143 Charlie Alpha, taking off runway 18. Okay, we actually didn't have a chance to see this before. I think we'll see it now as we come on to the runway. There we go. Let's move up here. There we go. Now, what you're going to see here is that I am taking off of runway 18. Well, what is runway 18? All runways are labeled with their number. Where do they get the numbers from? It is the direction in which they are going. So we are going, take a look at this, our magnetic compass, very near south. This runway is 180 degrees, going in the 180th degree direction. That's how the runways are actually named. All right, we have our flaps set. We've got our ailerons set, and we have clearance for takeoff. Let's go. And we're off. This really is, so far, my favorite plane in the universe. It is so stable that when flying it, 90% of the time I don't even use the autopilot. All right, let's kill our flaps. That will nose us down a bit. Let's bring up the joystick in order to make sure we keep moving upward and not downward. All right, given that, let's put on our autopilot, put on reverses, and let's make sure we're going up. There we go. All right. So now we're headed up. We're at 1,200 feet, and we're headed up at about 600 feet a minute, which is fine. Let's just make a manual turn to the west. There we go. Oh. All right. And let's put on heading with the autopilot. so it can take over. And with that, we are now headed westward in what will take us over the White Mountains, actually. Now, with that being done, we're not going to need that anymore. Okay. Let's bring our range out for our map. So it looks like we don't really want to head westward per se, but we actually want to head maybe a little bit more 310, 320. So let's move our heading appropriately. There we go. Let's go right over those. You can see, of course, green is lowlands, yellow is more high. Then you get the orange, which is the highest. So now, how much danger are we going to be in here? No, we're not. I'm not that dumb. The FAA charts show you in squares what the highest altitude is for particular areas that you're going to be flying through. And the highest altitude of these mountains are 4,300 feet above sea level. And we are going to top off at 4,500 feet. So we're going to be going over these mountains pretty low, and that's probably going to give us some pretty nice views. All right, let's take these taxi lights off. We don't need them for flying in the air. All right, let's take a look. This is what I meant when I said that the C-208 Cessna, by the way, the C-208 Cessna, here's the back of our Cessna here. We use it at Cape Air Virtual, and Cape Air itself in the real world uses this plane for small passenger trips. We can fit about 8 people in here, including luggage and cargo. But one of the VPs of Cessna wonderfully described the C-208 as I'm going to forget the noun, the SUV of airplanes. And I've always loved that particular description. It's amazing what you can do to outfit, actually, an airplane. The C-208s are used by actually some military organizations, government military organizations in some countries. They fit them with missiles. And so this can be a missile plane if you really want it to be. And apparently it actually works enough that some governments will continue to use them like that. I, however, will not. Alright, let's bring this range down. There we go. This is the lake we're seeing right out here. And taking a look at the FAA chart, that is Sebago Lake. And as I promised, we have VFR conditions, but this time we have some clouds, and that's not a bad thing. And we have topped to our cruising altitude of 4,500 feet.